they're kind of not socialized in a lot of ways that we grew up being socialized in school. And I don't mean that you're an animal. I mean you're socialized in a different way. That
Yeah.
it's acceptable to text
Yeah.
and have a relationship and then break up over text.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all that's all like normal. Whereas if somebody ever did that to me, I would just like have a cow,
Of
because
course.
it's like, you better call me. You
Yeah.
better not come up to my front door and honk the horn.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Welcome back to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. As I say pretty much every week, it is my delight to get to spend some time with you all here during this time. And I get to share my amazing guests with you also. This week, we got one of my OGs. Literally, I think out of everyone that I've interviewed, I've known Rene Santana the longest. We go back to our El Paso days back in the day, and she'll share more with you all about her experience in the world of advertising and all of the things. But I want to tell you that she's going to be bringing her expertise as now the associate publisher for that Dallas Observer. And she's known for her servant leadership and idea-based selling culture. She's going to talk to us about driving growth, mentoring teams, and staying ahead in a rapidly evolving sales landscape. Rene is she's one of the masters as it pertains to sales, and I have respected her for so many years. I cannot wait for you all to hear from her. So let me introduce you to Rene Santana. Please share with us, Rene, a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and as always, what's something we're not going to learn about you on your bio or on the website.
Well, thank you so much again, Tish, for having me back. I think I was with you back in May, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to just chat. I mean, and kind of catch up. I feel like it's just girlfriend time right now.
Yes.
So let's just talk about what we love to talk about, and that is sales. I think one thing I can say that probably nobody knows about me is that I used to own a wine business. It was called Uncorked Parties, and it was my passion because I had been in the restaurant business for about 15 years, fine dining and wine and all of that. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have some fun with this. And it was a passion play. I honestly could care less whether I made money about it or not, but it was, I would do in-home wine tasting parties, and I have hosted a few for some good friends of ours, Glenda, as an example.
Yes.
So I would do things for her clients and for her, her employee appreciations, and literally just hosting, wine pairings and dinners and things like that. So again, I'll do it for free. I love it so much that I would continue to do that. So I guess it's sort of my passion play, if you will.
So something funny that you may or may not remember this, but we were sitting in Barnes & Noble at the little dining area. We were kind of having some coffee and just chatting. And I remember you saying that there was a guy that you were dating at the time, or maybe he wanted to date you. And you were like, he doesn't like wine. I don't think this is going to work.
I know. And don't get me wrong. I am not an alcoholic.
No.
I don't put down alcoholics. I'm just saying that I grew up in that biz,
Yes.
And it was just something that I gravitated to. But yeah, if you got to want to drink wine and fine dining and going on trips. I just went with three of my other really good close girlfriends, and we got on a bus tour and drove to Granbury, Texas. It was like an all-day trip for just wine tasting through the wine country of Texas, and it was just a blast. And so I still keep it in my life now and then.
Love it. It's interesting. You feel about wine how I feel about coffee. And so I am serious about coffee. And interestingly, you're going to laugh at this. When I met my husband, he hated coffee. He hated coffee for the first 10 years of our marriage. I prayed. I am not kidding. So he got sent to not Afghanistan, I forget, somewhere in the Middle East. He got sent for business. And while he was there, he fell in love with coffee. he came back as a coffee lover, and I was like, yes, thank you, Lord. So now we
Yeah.
enjoy coffee together. So I completely understand. It's like, you got to love the things we love, right? In order for us to
Yeah,
really be
well,
able to.
that's it. And you like coffee, I like wine. I've never drank coffee. I don't, I've had sips now and then, but I'm one of those that I just, look at me. I don't need it.
Well, would you believe I've never had a glass of wine? I literally have never had any, and I'll take that back. Maybe I tasted it as a teenager, but
Yeah,
I've just never drank alcohol. So it's interesting. I
yeah.
get to kind of see through your eyes, and you can see through my eyes, and we're all
And we're
good,
still
right?
friends, and we're still friends.
And we're still friends. So why don't we start? Why don't we start at the beginning? Remind the audience. I encourage you. We'll make sure we link your previous episode just so they can kind of learn a little bit more about your
Mhm.
background. But for those of you all who not have had the opportunity to meet Rene Santana, why don't you share a little bit about how you got into the world of sales and why did you learn to master it? Because all of us are in sales at some point, right? Lots of us even get into the industry where we're selling. You're on another level. You are on a different level in a good way. So share with us, how did you get into sales and why did it become important for you to really master sales?
Well, I started off as a receptionist at a television station. I'll share I don't have a college degree, but I feel like I what I call an MBA. I became a manager by accident. So I started off as a sales as a receptionist. I just thought. I kept being encouraged by others around me that, you have a great personality, you should be in sales. And so I tried it and I was winging it and just, being really successful, just not listening to any of the rules, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to say. And I was one of the anomalies where I thought, man, this could be a career, not just a job. And I was doing well, but I wanted to do better. I wanted to make it a career and not just a job. And so I started educating myself. My companies, most of the companies that I had worked for in the past, now a lot of companies have jumped on the bandwagon of doing really good sales training, but there wasn't anything available. And so I educated myself. I literally was reading books. I was going to every seminar. I was traveling out of town myself just to go to see people that I knew that were in that landscape. And I actually had the opportunity to teach at UTEP a class one time because they don't have any. There's no such thing as a degree in sales,
Right.
And so they wanted to get my expertise in that level because what they were teaching was marketing and communication and advertising and that kind of thing, but it wasn't really sales.
Right.
And so I was really blessed to have them ask me come do that. And once I did that, I was like, you know what, this is something that I really want to dedicate myself to. And so I started honing in on what my teams needed, what was lacking, what were the things that they weren't getting, by us, a manager just telling them how to do the job, but really how to become, a successful salesperson and elevate. That's my new favorite word this year is elevate. So that's really kind of how I started and how I really rolled into it. Once I got into management, I was always in a position where I could make those decisions and roll out, good training to the sales teams. And so many people have told me that they're really grateful that I was there for them in that capacity because they weren't going to get it from anywhere else. And I literally have two salespeople. I remember them very specifically from El Paso. They were both green right out of college from UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
And they both now and have been for quite some time managers. And so everything that I felt like and they both thanked me, they were like, oh, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now. And we really appreciate you, taking the time to slow things down, to teach us how to be, again, to level up and be, choose to be a better salesperson and not just go with the flow.
Love it. I love that you, whether by choice or just by, who you are, you sell differently. You teach people how to do things in an effective way. Your leadership style has always been impressive, no doubt, in the way that you lead sales teams. How would you say your leadership style has transitioned in your new role? And what opportunities do you feel like you're up against right now?
So I've always tried to stay educated. Again, I'm always still learning. I'm always still reading books. I'm always doing things. But there I also feel like since 2001, with the onslaught of Google, that changed the landscape of how we communicate, how we receive information, how we receive communication, and how we send out communication. It has changed. However, I'm really steadfast about this, that there's nothing that beats face-to-face sales and getting in front of people, and it's people helping people, and it's not always efficient. Like, I'm in Dallas, we work downtown, and it's a challenge to want to go out and just cold call people or go to an appointment and then come all the way back here. You have to be efficient with it, much more efficient than we ever were. I mean, I would spend days, and hours out in the market with working out of my trunk. I had all my one sheets, I had all my business cards, I had everything going. There's something to be said to continue to do that, but also obviously embrace the efficiencies that we can get out of using like this Zoom, having those kind of calls. But there has to be at least one, in my opinion, face-to-face call with someone, whether it's the first initial call or whether it's when you're presenting, your solutions. I feel like it has to be that, or there really isn't a full circle of trust that needs to happen there.
Love that. So it's only been about 6 or 7 months since we had our last conversation, right? In our world, it's like a snap of the finger. It's not been that long, but since we've talked last, the world of AI has increased so much in the sales world, right? And when we talked before, we were both kind of like, no, we want to, we love the face-to-face, and I still agree with that. How are you all, or how are you, as far as, leading your teams and even the way that you might be selling, how are you utilizing AI? How are you monitoring to make sure that you still have that client-centric, authentic connection while using the tools that are available to us now?
Yeah, great question. The company that I joined just in September is Voice Media Group. We are very AI forward. We not only have the Dallas Observer, it's a weekly entertainment newspaper that we have. We also have one in Miami and Denver and Phoenix. So a little bit of traditional media, but it's non-traditional because it's still a weekly, and it is people pick those things up and love them all across our markets because it tells everybody where to go to have fun, the restaurants, the bars, the music scene, the art scene, all of that stuff. So we're very sought after. I mean, those have been in circulation for over 45 years. Wow. And so the other side of my company is V Digital Services. We're a full service digital agency that are partnered with Google, and our products are available. We pretty much are a full service agency. We work closely with the trade desk, for programmatic, advertising and video streaming options. We have, YouTube, TV, and, all those things. But overall, AI is very efficient in helping us build campaigns that are directly related to what our clients' needs are. So, as an example, most people have heard of Salesforce. We use Salesforce, but built within Salesforce, we have an AI tool called Max Knowledge, and Max is our little buddy, our AI buddy within there, and is plugged into all of our tools and all of our products and what they do and how they can solve for a client's problem. So as we get to use the tool more readily, you can literally put in somebody's CNA into Max and say, hey, what should I do for this client? What's a good solution for them? And it builds it out, but then you still have to have that we're AI forward, but we're people first. And we literally have to have that mentality that, hey, AI might have helped me build this or write this amazing, perfect email, but it has to have the human touch, and it also has to be there has to be human interaction along the way. I can't imagine anybody ever selling somebody with just AI, with never talking to a client. I mean, that's just transactional, and there's a place and time for transactional selling. But if you want longevity and you want relationship building, and again, idea-based selling is where I live, and so you can't have that by letting AI kind of do that. You need to have that energy interaction that happens when you're on a sales call with a client, and looking at their place of business and saying, wow, I mean, I'm so glad I came here, help me understand why you started this business, and so having those kind of questions, AI is not going to ask that kind of question.
Right.
And so, yeah, we have very, very specific uses for AI right now, but we can also, it's obviously moving into the Google sector where AI will eventually replace how we search.
No doubt. No doubt. I love the phrase you said, AI forward, people first. Because
Yeah.
that's the thing. If we're able to master that, and I always say we got to Tishify it, because when my company, we're utilizing it, but it still needs to maintain the soul of who I am as a leader, and the culture and the brand of the organization as well. Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales. And so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you, because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi,
my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. Rene, so you are known as a mentor of choice for sales teams. I think that anybody in El Paso and probably Dallas now will definitely say that you are an excellent sales team leader, amongst other things. How do you inspire your teams to consistently exceed revenue targets, especially in this new role? I don't know, you share with me if there's something different. Maybe you are leading a team, maybe you're not in this particular role, but over the history of us working together, I know that you've always led sales teams. So talk to me about what that looks like for you now.
So I am a new leader here. We do have two other primary, my advertising director and my director of operations. They are the brains and heart of this operation. But I've come in as a leader to the three of us to, band together and work as a team. And we're working on that right now. So I can't say that I've done everything that I want to do here yet, right. But I will say I'm using the same methodologies that I've used with other sales teams that I had been successful with. And first and foremost, I come in, I assess, and see where challenges are, where strengths are, just like anybody else, kind of do a little SWOT, for myself and my brain. Yeah. And then from there, I start working individually with people and finding out what do they like to do, what do they want to do, and then move toward a mindset that I am literally the only reason I'm here is to help them make as much money as they possibly can. And salespeople love to hear that. Yep. The company doesn't love to hear that, but I love to tell it because it's true. Ultimately, if a salesperson is rocking and rolling and they're hitting their commission goals and they're making money and everybody's happy, then we're all happy. And so that I want them to, it's very sincere place that it comes from, with me, that I truly, truly believe that I'm here to help them. It's sometimes there's a challenge, there's always people who push back against change. Change is hard for everyone. It was hard for me to move here, and to come to this new role. But I'm trying to adapt as best I can. But knowing that, again, how many sales teams have I had? I had four, maybe five. I've always been able to, create an atmosphere of, fun and money, funds and fun. let's be, let's don't forget why we're here, but by God, we can have some fun while we're doing it. So
I love that.
Trying to instill that, and it's a good time of the year because of all the holidays and all the cool stuff that they do here. I will say the energy here is very different than what I've ever really worked with, and it is amazing. I'm very excited to be able to tap into the energy that's already here and to be able to try to continue that. I really feel like it's a little bit more youthful oriented, and it's also, again, there's some challenges, with that. We talked a little bit earlier about that, when I was talking about, some of those challenges, but one of the challenges is that because there are some different generations in the workplace, there are some connectivity issues that I want to try to resolve. The younger generation, they don't say younger, the Gen Z, Gen X, even low Gen X, they really don't they're kind of not socialized in a lot of ways that we grew up being socialized in school. And I don't mean that you're an animal. I mean, you're socialized in a different way, that it's acceptable to text and have a relationship and then break up over text. I mean, it's all, that's all like normal. Whereas if somebody ever did that to me, I would just like have a cow, because it's like, you better call me. You better not come up to my front door and honk the horn.
Exactly.
So getting the commonalities that we have, which is to be, the best that we can do, and helping them tap into what their what their strengths are, and then also helping them develop.
Girl, you said something that we're not talking about this in the marketplace right now, how the various generations in the workplace impact the way that we sell, because you said something about, okay, don't pull up to my house and honk the horn. That's like a dating thing. But what if we have people that are selling that way? They're selling to a person who needs to receive information differently, right? Needs to be approached differently. We have people who want to talk on the phone compared to people who do not ever want to talk on the phone. How do we bridge that gap? And how are you helping your teams to bridge that gap when there is a difference in, for me, I'm like, if you call me at 9:00 at night talking business, you're going to make me mad. There's just things that are probably very, they're probably built on how we were raised and what we, our culture, our values, all of those things. How do you bridge that gap, especially as it pertains to sales? I think people need to hear about that.
Yeah, I actually have a whole sales training deck that I have on generations. And the first part of generations is to recognize the generations themselves. What are the generations, and then what are the characteristics of that generation? And then the primary drivers of the characteristics of any generation is what generation they were raised by. So as an example, I'm a boomer. My dad was in the silent generation. So what his characteristics for his generation affected me and how I grew up. So as a boomer, silent generation people were very, frugal, and they were scared the banks were going to go upended again, and so they were literally used their mattresses as, banks, and things like that. With boomers, we went the opposite, and we're like, I want it right now. I need, gimme, and we went overboard with credit and buying too many things too quick, and it was just a very much of a dopamine, generation. But I raised a millennial, and knowing what I was raising her by with my mindset, and then so on and so on. Her kids will be whatever the next Gen Beta is. It'll probably be her age group, because Gen Alpha is already out there. But definitely knowing that first, and knowing where people are kind of coming from a little bit. Now we all have different backgrounds, but generationally, there's some characteristics that are pretty common. And then from there, recognizing that when you're out in the marketplace and who you're calling on and who you're talking to, what generation they're coming from. So is that going to be, if you go in and talk to somebody and about something that is outside of their generation wheelhouse, they're going to have a hard time understanding some of the technology like AI, and not recognizing that AI is actually a positive step forward for mankind, and not something that's going to be robotic and coming in and taking over, like iRobot. That's what people are thinking, and that is just not where we have control. The humans still have control. And so putting that, like, say, in a solution to somebody who is of the older generation of, an older younger boomer, or even an older Gen Xer, who are all now in their 50s, you have to look at that. And are they going to receive that information and understand how that's going to help their business? Because they're probably still doing old school stuff. That means they're dumping money into broadcast TV, newspaper, and they're probably still doing, direct mail, or even more grassroots than that. They're sending people into neighborhoods and knocking on doors. Hey, I want to talk to you about your roof repair.
Right.
And that is wasteful and not how people I would not open the door to someone coming to my house. I'm, a single lady, and I, probably wouldn't do that. And but if I got a message if I got a banner ad on my mobile device that there's a roofing company in my neighborhood and would love to come talk to me, I would absolutely go, yep, I need somebody to come by and do that.
Yeah.
So having that language barrier between the generations, but showing them options that are going to make it work for them and who they're trying to talk to. You just have to study it a little bit. You have to understand the characteristics. Not only that, I go deeper dive later on into it about what types of media that those generations are leaning into and are now becoming early adapters of. It was like a big deal, when the boomers jumped in on Facebook, and that's what everybody thinks is still there, but that's not really the case. There are a lot of businesses that are using Facebook now. It is not for the older generation. There are multi-generational demographics that are across all TikTok, Instagram, all of it. People are adapting quickly because, well, frankly, COVID threw us into that.
Yeah, for sure. Rene, good gracious. It's always so good to talk to you because I always learn something. I always enjoy it, and I know the audience gets something. I know you remember this. I have pictures. I can share them with you. When you came and spoke to my group, 15 years ago now, easily. I actually would love for you, because, we have retreats on a quarterly basis, because this is information that every salesperson, every business owner needs to understand. I would love to chat with you later about you coming and talking to our retreat attendees because they need to hear this. So we'll talk offline about that, but I think that would be phenomenal for you to share that information.
Anything for you, Tish, all day long.
I love it. I love you. I love you. I love you. Well, share with anyone how they might be able to reach out to you, and we'll definitely put something on the calendar for us to chat more about you coming out and chatting with our people.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I'll share my email right now. It's Rene Santana at DallasObserver.com. Pretty simple. Just, send me any questions you might have, or if you're, trying to work through a challenge. I'm more than happy to talk you through, coach you, through a little coaching session. I know you charge, but I don't. So you have to learn from you. I think maybe I should learn from you.
Let's talk, Rene. Let's talk. There's a whole side business for you there. But I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. So glad that I have you. I know I got you on speed dial, and likewise back at you. You can definitely reach out for anything. I love talking with you, and I know the audience got something from you. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tish. Love you.
Love you back, girl. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you heard something. Look, if you just took away the generational piece of what she just talked about, I know you got gold. So put something into practice that you learned. Don't be hearers only. Make sure that you're actually putting into practice what you heard today. I will see you back here next week, same place, same time. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I would love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.